But just a reminder, because to listen to these buffoons today, you go, oh my God. And as I've said, we shut down the government every single weekend, starting around 4:30 p.m. on Fridays, and every holiday. The government is shut down. And we love our weekends and holidays, don't we? Here's a modern history of government shutdowns, quote unquote. You ready? September 30 to October 11, 1976, for 10 days. September 30 to October 13, 1977, for 12 days. October 31 to November 9, 1977, for 8 days. November 30 to November 9, 1977, for 8 days. September 30 to October 18, 1978, for 18 days. September 30 to October 12, 1979, for 11 days. November 20 to November 23, 1981, 2 days. September 30 to October 2, 1982, 1 day. September 17 to December 21, 1982, 3 days. November 10 to November 14, 1983, stay with me, 3 days. September 30 to October 3, 1984, 2 days. October 3 to October 5, 1984, 1 day. October 16 to October 18, 1986, 1 day. December 18 to December 20, 1987, 1 day. October 5 to October 9, 1990, 3 days. November 13 to November 19, 1995, 5 days. And November 5, 1995 to January 6, 1996, 21 days. And after that last shutdown, the longest of them all, where Gingrich and Clinton were in a stare-down, the electoral disaster that the French Republicans, led by Karl Rove and others, talk about, the historic political defeat, was no such thing. The Republicans picked up 2 seats in the Senate, and they lost 9 in the House, which they were expected to lose anyway, because in the prior election they had a fairly significant landslide and they had a few soft seats, if you will. So this is not unique, it's not novel, it's not a political disaster, and yet Obamacare is all those things. And if the Republicans will not stand up and fight to try and defund even the discretionary part of Obamacare, what the hell good are they? The American people reject Obamacare. The closer we get to full implementation, because Obama keeps pushing it off, they will learn to despise it. Republicans who talk about Obamacare imploding on its own, which is absurd. Laws don't implode on their own. They remain laws unless they're repealed. I talked about the difficulties a few weeks ago that Medicare had in instituting it, and I found in my research an old Washington Compost article, which I read to you. It didn't implode at the time of implementation, did it? It may implode soon, but it didn't implode then, because laws don't just disappear. Voila! Do any of you honestly believe that the French Republicans, led by Boehner and Mitch McConnell and the rest of them, Eric Cantor, do you really believe that even with a Republican president that they will fight to actually repeal Obamacare? I don't believe it for a second. Let me tell you a little secret. Not to upset you, but just to be honest with you. We're not going to get rid of Obamacare. We're not going to get rid of Obamacare through our current processes. The Republicans defend the status quo. That's what they do. The Republicans wouldn't have passed Obamacare, but they aren't going to destroy it either. And the Democrats know it. You know how they know it? Because the Republicans told them so. With the threat of a government shutdown, they're not going to act. I'm not trying to upset you. I'm trying to tell you that there's really only one recourse. It's not a quick recourse. It's a difficult recourse, but it's there in the Constitution. But I don't see Obamacare being repealed or significantly defunded under the current circumstances. Let me ask you this. When George W. Bush was president and we controlled the House and the Senate for 6 years, what did they abolish? Let me put it to you another way. Do you actually believe that, for instance, if a Chris Christie's president of the United States, a man who wouldn't even sign the brief against Obamacare, do you actually believe he'd had anything to do with repealing Obamacare when he's just signed off on expanding Medicaid under Obamacare? If Ted Cruz is president of the United States, God willing, or somebody like him, And we control both houses. Republicans do. Do you believe we can muster enough Republican votes in the Senate, for instance, with all those French Republicans to repeal Obamacare? Do you know Ronald Reagan tried repeatedly to abolish the Department of Education? Do you know who prevented it? Howard Baker. And Howard Baker became the Senate Majority Leader because Reagan brought in a coattail full of senators who weren't expected to win, candidates who won the Senate, and even then, winning a landslide. So many of them winning on his coattails. He couldn't abolish the Department of Education that had been created a few years earlier by Jimmy Carter. I'm not trying to dispirit people. I'm trying to tell you what's going on, and this is what's going on. All we need to do is elect more conservatives, right? No, all we need to do is bypass Congress, bypass the federal government. And they need a bypass.